Mr. Vigil, welcome to the show again. We're going to talk a little bit about some not breaking news anymore, but it's pretty big in the news right now. But apparently, El Mencho's wife was arrested this week, and we kind of wanted to get you in as our resident expert about this stuff and just talk about what this means exactly. I mean, who is El Mencho? Who is his wife? What does this all mean? Most of the people that watch the show and listen to it know, but we kind of want to bring them back into the mix of things. And what's the relevance of this whole thing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. The significance of the arrest of Rosalinda González Valencia is pretty significant in Mexico because she is the wife of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, and he is the leader of the ultra violent cartel known as the Jalisco New Generation cartel that currently operates in over 23 states in Mexico. El Mencho has committed many atrocities in Mexico. Rosalinda comes from a very large family that, originates out of the state of Michoacan. They were avocado growers initially, and then they started to get into marijuana, opium poppy cultivation. And later in the 1970s, they created the Millennial Cartel. The Millennial Cartel was very powerful and at one point in time was attached to the Sinaloa Cartel. But they later fragmented. And as a result of that, El Mencho came into power and he had already married Rosalinda. But he was an ordinary sicario, he was a
Mm.
hitman. But once he married Rosalia, it was like putting a rocket on his back. He went through the ionosphere of the cartel world and eventually became the head of the Jalisco New Generation cartel in 2020 in 2019. I'm sorry, but anyway, Rosalinda was the financial genius behind the cartel. She was using about 73 companies. We're talking about construction, real estate, hotels, clothing stores, restaurants. But these businesses were nothing more than fronts. And we estimate that between 2015 and 2016, she laundered over $50 million, through those businesses. So in 2018, she was actually arrested for money laundering. And this happened in May of 2018. She was charged, and after about 3 months of legal wrangling, the judge decided to let her post bond and give her conditional release.
And this is all in Mexico. This is all
This is all
Mexico
in
charges
all
and
in
Mexican
Mexico.
authorities. Okay.
All in Mexico. So he gives her conditional release, and she posts a 1.5 million peso bond, which is about $78,000 US. And the condition is that she has to report twice a month to the authorities. Well, she never does that. So they issue an arrest warrant for her. And this past Monday, they again arrest her in Zapopan, which is on the outskirts of Guadalajara in the state of Jalisco. And she's driving around with her grandchildren, her daughter-in-law, and they put her on a plane and they fly her to the state of Morelia because they're afraid that El Mencho is going to try to rescue her. Hours after she's arrested, there's two Mexican Marine officials that are kidnapped in Zapopan.
Oh wow.
And they haven't found them yet, but they saw El Mencho and Rosalia's daughter and her boyfriend in that area. So they have basically linked Laisha, as she's called, to that kidnapping. So what's going to happen is El Mencho, without question, is going to retaliate because this guy is meaner and more treacherous than a diamondback, rattler.
Well, I mean, it sounds like his tactics are rival any other leader before him. I mean,
Without question.
yeah.
And then he also made an attempt on the life of the Mexico City police chief, Omar Harfuch,
Wow.
right on the main drag, Reforma. And several people were killed. Harfuch, who was driving a armored vehicle, was wounded, but, he survived the assault. So El Mencho's family is starting to disintegrate because sometime back, his son, Ruben Oseguera, called El Menchito, was arrested and extradited to the United States.
And once that happens, it changes things. Yeah.
So his sister, Jessica Joanna, went up there to visit him and she's arrested. So she just recently pled guilty to money laundering charges. They sentenced her to 30 months. Now the wife has been arrested. And then the wife's brother was just several days ago extradited from Brazil to the United States on drug trafficking charges. So his little world, at least within the family, is starting to collapse. Will it have an impact? It will, and it has, but more so if she decides to cooperate because she is the primary confidant of El Mencho. She knows where all the money is hidden, where, what resources they have. Plus, she knows what corrupt officials they're paying. So she can put a big dent on the cartel.
So, do you think she's in danger of being extradited to the United States? Does the United States have charges on her that they could try to bring her to the United States?
The U.S. right now does not have charges on her. However, that could change, within days, and there could be an extradition request for her, while she's still in custody in Mexico. But at this point in time, no outstanding charges here in the United States.
So the fear of her talking would be within the Mexican country. The problems would arise for the country if she was to talk, and that's not necessarily related to the United States. So her problems remain down in Mexico right now.
Her legal problems right now, in terms of criminal activity, remain in Mexico right now. But keep in mind the DEA has several offices in Mexico, and I'm sure that there'll probably requests to be able to interview her, especially in regards to the assets, and then also to the whereabouts of El Mencho, if she decides to cooperate.
So right now, how many of the large cartels are there right now? His is obviously one of the biggest ones.
There's only two supersized cartels in Mexico right now, and that's the Jalisco New Generation cartel, which is the most violent, by the way, and then the Sinaloa cartel. But when it comes to who traffics more drugs, definitely the Sinaloa cartel. But El Mencho has just spread violence throughout Mexico. And right now, he is the primary target of Mexico and the United States.
So if he was to be taken down because of these arrests with his kids, now got arrested, have been extradited. Now his wife is under arrest. If that stands, I mean, he's like you said, his whole organization is going to start to fragment. Is someone going to pick up, or is just Sinaloa going to be the sole in charge going forward after that?
I believe that if Mencho were to get arrested, it would probably fragment, but certainly would not be as powerful as it is right now. When we've seen a lot of the cartels that have been dismantled and they have fragmented, but that fragmentation causes them to lose power because all of a sudden you have different factions within those cartels fighting against one another. But Sinaloa right now may take advantage because I guarantee you that El Mencho right now is pretty apprehensive in terms of what the wife is going to say, what she's going to do, and the Sinaloa cartel can now decide to press the attack against the El Mencho's cartel, and which is going to lead to much more violence than actually exists right now in Mexico.
So this story is not going to have a happy ending one way or the other. It's there's going to be some crazy times ahead, and we're just going to have to stay tuned and see what happens. But this is big news, and we just kind of wanted to bring you in and talk about it and get your expert opinion on what you think is going to happen next. When something happens, we'll bring you back in and we'll figure out what you think about it.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming in. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right.
Bye bye. And there you go.